phones. So we're going to do our best to project to the back of the room. We are being recorded, so if you are just watching our lips move, you can put the sound to it later. And I apologize for the crowd in the small space, but I had nothing to do with any of it. So. I'm going to start with quick introductions, and I'm going to have to read mine because I've forgotten who I am. I'm Deann Powell. I write as Diana Xarissa, and I put it there so I don't have to spell it. I started publishing in 2013. I did my first cozy in 2014, and I started making full-time job money in 2015. And they are definitely related. And I do write full-time, and I work full-time hours, and I put out a lot of books. I've done a book a month, every month for, I don't know, a lot of years. I have over 100 books on Amazon now. I write across multiple series, and I do at least a book a month, depending on which series I'm working on, and I don't plan to change any of that in the short term, so that's who I am. Stella?
Hi, I'm Stella Bixby. Thank you for being here, first off. I'm so happy that you guys all came. I like to tell people that I am a professional murderer of fictional people. Because that's, better than I'm a cozy mystery author. No. But I am a cozy mystery author. I have about 20 books, probably closer to like 30 some with the novellas and all those types of things. I started publishing in 2018, and I just started ramping up my output last year. So I do about 6 to 8 books a year now.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I am English, so if you can't understand me, I am sorry. I write historical mysteries. I've got one series that is set in the 1920s and another set in the 1940s. I've got 8 books out at the moment. I've been writing cozy mysteries since 2020, and my first book came out in the summer of 2020, so I'm quite new.
So I just want to start quickly with what is cozy, because I feel like everybody talks about writing cozies, so I'm just going to go back like 10 years when I started writing cozies. And cozies were sort of amateur detectives in a small town with no sex, no swearing, and no violence on the page. So that was a pretty standard. And then the last 10 years happened. And there's been a sort of explosion of subgenres and different ways to go about writing your cozies. So we have culinary cozies, and we have themes to our cozies, and we have recipes in our cozies, and we have historical cozies, and we have paranormal, which is like just off the scale everywhere. With witches, but then fantasy elements and tea shops and bakeries, and I have a cozy in space now. I know people writing urban fantasy cozies. I know someone who describes her cozies as steamy. So I have sort of 2 points here. One is, it's fantastic for readers and for writers that cozies have expanded in that way, with the caveat that it's harder to market when you're mashing up genres, right? I have a cozy thriller series. It's really hard to market. But that doesn't mean you can't write what you want to write, and you can't play with the genre, and you can't write steamy cozies if that's what makes you happy as a writer. But I will also add, there is still an enormous market for those original tenets, for those traditional books. My readers who read my traditional stuff complain all the time that there are not enough. And I get emails that say, why is everybody writing about witches? Why isn't anybody just writing traditional cozy? So you can still do very, very well in that with those sort of traditional stories. So I put on the Facebook page, what do you guys want us to talk about? I have a stack of note cards we are not going to get through. We're going to do our best to cover some topics, and then when we get the 15-minute warning, we'll switch and cover something else. So I'm going to start with you guys. What do you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
I think the most important thing that I wish I had known is that it's not a sprint. If you want this career to last, you have to plan I didn't plan. I literally sat down during COVID. I was stuck at home with 2 teenagers. I couldn't go out to work, and I thought, what can I do? So I started writing this book, but I had no plan of what I was going to do next. I planned nothing. So I wrote another one. They started doing well. I was like, I'll write another one. And I continued that with no plan. So my advice would be, have a plan. Have a structure for your business before your business explodes, because it's so much harder to go back and put in place what should have been there in the beginning. So know what your plan is, know what your genre is, know where you're marketing your books. I mean, I didn't know any of that. I just wrote a book and just went. Now I would say, know who you want your audience to be, market your books to those audiences, and have a plan, have a yearly plan. Say, right, this is what I'm going to do this year, and know why you want to do that. You're not just writing 12 books because this person does it. You're not writing 1920s historicals because that person does it. You're doing something that you think you can write and sustain your career going forward.
I think I would just say to trust yourself and trust your intuition, because I got a lot of input, and I don't know if you guys know Becca Syme's thing, but I'm high input, and I got a lot of input, and I like input, and I wanted to do all the things that everyone told me. I wanted to do it right, and when you have so many things that people are telling you to do, you can't do all of them. So I wish I would have just stuck with what I felt was going to, because I mean, we're all readers. We all know what a good book looks like. We all know how it works, right? So follow your gut, but I also, in conjunction with that, do listen to people, because there are a lot of very intelligent people. Just take everything with your own filter. Use your filter to, sift out the stuff that doesn't work for you. If it's too expensive, don't waste the money. Do something else. Like, don't spend money on something that someone says is the miracle cure. Like, oh, my editor is the best editor in the world, but they're like $5,000. Don't do it. You're not going to make that back right away. And so if you want to spend $5,000, do it in a different way. Or write another book and, spread it over 2 books. I don't know. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
So I would say we write for a whole load of emotional reasons. We've had stories in our head our whole lives. We want to put our ex-husband in a book and kill him, whatever. But when you make... Wait a minute,
she's like, no, she's like, I did that.
But when we make the decision to publish, we are now making business decisions. And if I could go back and talk to 2013 me, I would say, this is not a stupid little hobby thing. You are making business decisions. And you can't just throw all your books on Amazon and then cross your fingers. And you have to make smart decisions. So there's sort of 3 components here. One is believe in yourself. I am sitting here dying because imposter syndrome does not go away. And you need, look, I mean, I have a lot of books. I've made some money. I've sold a lot of books. I still, every time I hit publish, I'm like, this is the one. They're going to read this and they're going to go, the first 100 were so bad I can't believe I read them all, because now I can see this person cannot write. It just does not go away. But you need to believe in yourself, right? You need to believe in yourself. You need to invest in yourself. I started with a budget of no money. My husband said, you can do whatever you want, but it can't cost anything. So if you can't invest money, invest time. There are ways to publish as an indie for not a lot of money, and I know there's a whole session on it. But if you don't have the money to throw at it, you're going to need to throw more time at it. And the third thing is make careful, researched decisions. When I started, we didn't have 20 books. We didn't have much. There was a whole bunch of us roaming around in Facebook places, going, have you ever done any publishing? Anybody know anything about anything? I have made some great friends that way. Sean Inman and I met in 2013 when neither one of us knew what we were doing. But you are in a great place now. You have 20 books. You have all these people around you. Before you leave this conference, grab 2 or 3 of them and say, hey, you want to be a mastermind? Grab people that are in the same place that you are, and then find one person who's a little bit further along and see if they will do a group with you. And say, we'll Zoom once a month. Looking at one of mine. We'll Zoom once a month, and we'll just talk about stuff. And I mean, sometimes you might just talk about cooking. But maybe you'll say, hey, I just tried this new advertising service and it was terrible, don't waste your money. Or I just tried, I've got a new cover artist and she's amazing and nobody knows about her yet, so get in now. Use the connections that you can make here, use the 20 Books group, do your research there before you say, well, I heard Facebook ads are really good, so I'm going to take my entire budget and I'm going to run Facebook ads, because Facebook will spend your money. You have the opportunity to learn what you need to learn from the other people. So, time for some craft conversation.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Let me see what we're supposed to talk about. Location first or main character first? Or does it not matter? Or is it individual to your books?
I don't think it matters. I think it depends on your own process. Everybody's got their own process. Everybody creates the series in their own way. Personally, I have characters first. Characters come to me and I think, right, I need to put that person in the book, and then I work out where I want to put them, and I work out the setting almost like it's another character. I can't draw, but I draw myself little maps, and I'm like, this is where the post office is, this is where the vicarage is, this is where this person lives. And I have this map so that I know. And just the same way as I would have, this character has black hair and brown eyes, this character has blonde hair, this dog's called whatever. I have the same with my setting.
Strange name for a dog.
Whatever. Yeah, I know somebody with a dog called Dave, which is so strange. But yeah, I think settings are like characters. I don't think it matters whether you pick your setting first or your characters, so long as they're fleshed out.
I agree. I mean, I think I usually start with characters because I think the characters are what really pull readers in, especially cozy mystery readers. They want the quirky, cute, fun characters, but they also really want that cozy setting. I mean, and that is a big part of it. You want to have a setting where people want to visit. You want them to want to read your book, to escape the crazy world we live in, and go somewhere that they can't go normally. And I mean, I've seen cozy mysteries set in places that are big, because usually they say small town, right? But I've seen them set in places that are big, but that has like a small atmosphere.
Like a neighborhood in a big
yes,
city.
Right. So it doesn't have to be a small made-up town, on the East Coast that everyone goes to. It doesn't have to be that, but I mean, make it cozy. But the characters, I have to go with characters.
See, and I do a bit of both, because my original series is set on the Isle of Man, which makes it a unique location. And most of my readers are American, and they're never going to go there, so they read it to go somewhere. Actually, it was on the Isle of Man this summer, and got into a conversation with the people in front of me, and it was an American family, and they said, when we decided to come here, we found some great books. Fiction murder mysteries set on the island. And I went, oh, who reads those then? But so those series are more about location.
Did you tell them it was you?
Yeah, I did. I stood there, and it was like this deer in the headlight moment. Like, do I out myself, or do I just keep my mouth shut? But then it was really awkward, because we rode all the way to the top of Snake Mountain again, and then all the way back down again before the dad worked up the nerve to ask if they could take a picture. I'm like, sure. I'm like all wind. We just stood in like this dense. So top of Snake Mountain, highest mountain on the island. And I get to the top, and it's completely fogged out. You can't see a thing. And I'm like, this was fun. And I'm so glad I did this. And then they're like, can we take a picture? Yeah. So I think it depends on if you have a really unique setting. Setting matters first, but most of my series characters, yeah. Like Aunt Bessie came first. Well, she was on the island though, so it's a wonderful. All right, let's talk about Scooby gangs and sidekicks and how you write them and how you don't want to talk about that.
I don't know that I really have them. They have friends. I heard someone say something recently that was like, make your characters have friends, because if they don't have friends, why would your reader like them? If no one likes them in their world, no. Why would your reader like them? You know, they have to have friends. And I never thought of that. I mean, all my characters have friends, don't worry. But, you know, like, why don't they have friends? So I do have like animals in mine. I have like a pet pig sidekick in one of them, and you know, like the group of co-workers in the other one, but I don't really have a Scooby gang per se.
No, I don't think I do either. In my 1920s mysteries, I have a husband and wife who do the investigating, so they kind of bounce the ideas off each other, so there's no real gang and no real sidekick because they do everything together. In my other series, the main character lives alone with a sister, and she talks to a dog quite a lot, but that's not really a sidekick because obviously the dog doesn't give her anything back, but she runs her ideas.
Obviously, people do talking dogs.
No, Lizzie doesn't talk. That's another thing I got told off because my dogs all have human names, and apparently that's not cool. But I thought I was being quite clever because this 1940s series, the dog's called Lizzie, so she was named after Princess Elizabeth, so I thought that was quite cute, but other people were like,
I think it's cute.
I think it's cute, but yeah.
Your bank account says it's cute.
Yeah, right. It doesn't say we don't like these human dog names. So it's hard, yeah. I don't feel like I've not got a Scooby gang. I don't have real sidekicks because in the 1940s one, Martha investigates with the vicar. So again, it's a couple that do the investigating. So.
Well, I do Scooby gangs. What I like to do with my Scooby gangs is unlikely friends. So you may have like a group of characters in their 40s, but then they have an 80-year-old friend or a 20-year-old friend. So you're mixing things up and you're getting different perspectives. What else? I'm trying to think of my books now. Too many series on the go. So also, like at least one of the characters is usually like new to town. Well, usually the main character, they go back home or whatever. Although some. I have too many series on the go. We'll just move on. How careful? Oh, we shouldn't have this question because we talked about this last night. And it's how carefully do you plant your clues and your red herrings? And we all went no.
Sometimes I wish I did.
Yeah.
Because I end up at the end of the book and realize that I didn't do it right, or that I don't have clues. So I'll go and put some in and whatever. Natasha Sass has a cozy mystery class. If anyone wants, she's going to do like this novel workshop. Natasha Sass. And it's really good. And she tells you like beat by beat by beat where to put stuff. And it's really like, I think I write intuitively, but but like I write intuitively, but it's really cool to like see, oh yeah, I do usually put that at the midpoint or what place. So, and she has this like great workbook. Anyway, it's really good.
Quick question, can you spell Natasha Sass?
Natasha and then SASS.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is it class here or is it
No,
online class?
it's an online class, yeah.
Yeah, so I have an outline, but I don't put clues and red herrings in my outline. I just have the things that I need to hit in each act in the outline. Sometimes I'll get to a certain point in the story and I'll think, oh, I put a handkerchief down there. That's really cool. I can go back and put some blood on that handkerchief and make that into a red herring or a clue, depending on what the story needs. Sometimes I'll do, as Stella said, I'll get further on. What's your name again? To the story, and I'll think, right, I need to go back and put something in. Usually, I think it is quite intuitive. Your subconscious seems to just put things in the right place, and you go back and sometimes you have to change your handkerchief to a shirt or something, but what you've got there already works.
And I told them last night that after the 100th book, it gets a lot easier. I just have to write the first 100.
Getting there.
Again, I don't think about it when I write the book. After I finished it and I go back through it, I might be like, ooh, I missed a chance to put something here or there. But my books are very character driven, so as long as the characters are happy, if there's a clue missing or I miss a red herring, my readers are going to be happy that they got to spend time with their characters again. I write really long series, which we don't have time to really talk about today, but for those of you who are interested in what I do, I write alphabetical titles. So when I start a new series, the plan is to do 26 books. I highly recommend it because readers love it because they know the order to read the books in, but it really sucks when you get to the tricky letters of the alphabet and you come up with a title, like D.
Diane, could you spell your last name,
Okay.
pen name?
You probably can't read it from Xarissa.
Thank you, ma'am.
So we talked about staying on track when you're pantsing. You're a pantser. You're more of a plotter. How do you keep the mystery on track?
When I pants?
Yeah.
I don't. I go back. I go back a lot, and unless I'm writing consecutively every day, which Deann has taught me, or what is that your name?
Yeah, you can call me Deann.
Deann has taught me to do, to write every day, every morning. But unless I do that, I have to go back a lot and just make sure I'm still on the right track. I mean, I'm halfway through a book right now, and I just went back to the beginning to write down all the stuff that I put in. Sometimes I take stuff out because I'm like, yeah, that clue's not going to work, or I put stuff in. But I do like it when I have a better plot at the beginning, like when I actually write out a little bit. It makes it, I don't like it as much because I don't think it's as much fun. I like discovery writing. I like going into it like, what's going to happen? But it'll put you in a corner real fast. So if you want to write fast, having an outline is better.
And I find the more that I write, the less I plot. But I do bullet points for the chapters. So it'll be body found, police arrive, suspect's wife turns up and cries. And so I do that like for the chapters, and then I start writing. And usually by the time I get to about chapter 3, I'm ignoring all of that. But I do go back every couple days. I do 5,000 words a day, which is a chapter or more, depending on the length of the final length I'm planning. So I will go back and I will be like, oh, I forgot. So when you write long series, you got things like pregnant people, you got to have that baby by book 10, right? So I will make those notes in my bullet sheet, like don't forget that she's got to have her baby in this book or there's going to be a problem. So I do, like, I leave myself notes in the text. So I write the chapter and then I'm like, next chapter's got to be this, and then maybe the next couple. So by the time I get to about chapter 10, I've got my bullet points in the text for the rest of the book. And then I'm looking at my notes going, oh, I forgot the baby. But actually, I use the baby more as a plot. So she's going to have that baby, that's where the book's going to start, and then the overtired dad will drive the main character home and go to the wrong place, and then they're going to find the dead body that way. But you always say, the great thing about long series is you can always throw in a wedding or a funeral or something. You've got all these characters. Filling in backstory without too much repetition.
I think that's really hard because you've got readers that have read your series, they don't want to hear what's gone on because they already know. You might have somebody that's never read before, so you've got to give them something. I tend to, because both of my series have, one's a couple, the other one is friends, but they do everything together. So the one series with the couple, I tend to have them talking about what's happened sort of in their recent past at the start of the book, just in a conversation. Like the most recent one I've had, they're in India, they've got a letter from one of the characters' sisters, and they just talk about this is what happened after the wedding at the last book, and then go on. So they know those two are married, they know they've got other family, they know where the main series is set because that comes in, because that's where the letters come from. So they've got that information, and I usually say, I've said something like, we're going to go down and meet Aunt Em for dinner, so they know that Aunt Em is also an important person in that series world. And just really do it in a couple of paragraphs. I think anything more is too much.
I try to just sprinkle it in. I mean, I kind of just have a feel for how much, and then I rely really heavily on like my beta readers and my ARC team to tell me like, we don't need all this. You can get rid of this. Or wait a minute, you didn't tell us anything about her friend that just showed up magically in the fourth chapter. You know, like who is this person or whatever. So.
I get that once in a while. Like,
Yeah.
You didn't introduce this person. Well, yeah, but this is the 26th book, if they haven't met him yet. But no matter how hard you try as a writer, no matter how lovely and alphabetical you make your books, somebody is going to start with book M, just to spite you as an author. And then so you do need those back. I'm trying to do more backstory in conversation. So it's great for the first book in the series because they can find the body and then the police come and you have to tell the police your whole life story, right? You have to explain why you were there and how you found the body. But then the second series, they already know the second book, then you got to introduce a new character that you have to tell your whole life story to for some reason. So I do try and do more of it in conversation than just like in narrative. And I do try, like I said, sprinkle it through. They don't have to readers don't have to know the whole thing on page one. I read a traditionally published book once that started with, never thought when I moved to, I don't know, Joshua, Iowa, that I'd find Bob Jones' body on, in the wood chipper, and then Troy Hill turned up dead on C deck. Sorry, Troy, I just killed you again. Okay, we are like running out of time here, aren't we? No, we good?
No, we good. We're good.
We have till 2?
You have 17
17 minutes left. Okay, so we're going to switch to business and try to talk a little bit about business stuff.
Okay.
So when do you guys do box sets?
One of my series I release every 6 months, a book every 6 months, roughly. And I didn't make my first box set until the 4th book came out, and then I did my first 3. So I try to make sure that they're all out for a decent amount of time so that people don't feel like, oh, well, I could have just waited and gotten the box set. Now, I do think that there are different readers. Some readers want box sets and some readers want the full series, or the individual books. And I don't know that they cross a lot, but I just don't want any of my readers to ever feel gypped. Like I don't have my book come out full price and then run a sale on it a month later. Like that doesn't happen because I don't want people to think, oh, I'll just wait a month after and then she'll run a sale, Yeah, so that's what I do.
Yes, so my first series, I brought out the box set of the first 3 books after book 4 had been out. We're probably near enough when book 5 was about to come out, I did the box set. So the same as Stella, it had been out a fair while. People had a chance to get the individual books if that's what they wanted, but then people can start with the box set. So now book 7's coming out soon, so once book 7's probably been out a couple of months, I'll do the box set for books 4 to 6.
And box sets don't have to be just 1 through 3. So you can be creative with your box sets. If you have, 6 books and you finish your series, put them all in one. Or if you have 4 series, put the first book of every series in one. I mean, you can be creative with your box sets once you have more books.
Y'all are making me feel bad because I do box sets when I remember to do them, and I think,
Well,
like, oh, I haven't done any box sets lately. I should sit down and do the 6 that I forgot to do. I have no strategy for that, but I'm going to work on that now.
okay.
Audio. You guys are in audio, yes? Mm-hmm. How's it going? Percentage of sales? Is it? Are you getting rich?
No.
No. Not. So do you think there was a downturn in 2020 when people stopped commuting and they were just home, so they were reading? Because I heard that, and then I've heard people say, no, not that.
I don't know. I mean, I did my first 3 books in my most popular series in audio to test it out. And I've boxed them, so they are a box set now too. And I have not made back what I put into it. And until I do, I won't be doing the next one. Now, there is something to be said that audiobook listeners won't necessarily pick it up unless the whole series is in audio, because they don't want to start a series and then have to read a book, you know. But I don't have the money to put into, I'm not even finished with that series yet. So there's 9-10 books in it right now, and I'm not finished. So.
It's hard for me to say what happened before 2020, because obviously that was when my first book came out, so I can only say what I've experienced up to now. My audiobooks they've done okay. They haven't done anything startling. They probably sell more than my paperbacks. I probably make more money on audio than paperback. Percentage wise, probably should have checked that. I don't know, maybe probably less than 10%, I would say. I think the mistake that I made with audio was because when I first brought out my first book, I had no money, like at all, nothing. I did a share, an author share on ACX, which was fine. And then by book 3, the narrator wanted me to pay her rather than do the author share, which also was fine. But unfortunately, that means I can put books 3 to 6 on Findaway or my own website or YouTube, wherever I might want to put them. But those first 2 books I can't. Who's going to want to listen to an audiobook series starts on book 3? So that's what I was saying earlier. Plan what you want to do. Have a plan. I didn't have one. I was like, oh, everybody's got an audiobook. Right, I'm going to do that. And I have no money to put into it. So I wouldn't advise somebody to wait until they've got the money to pay their narrator, because everybody's business is different. But personally, I wish that I'd done that. I wish I'd waited till I'd got some money and then done that. But I have like shiny object syndrome. I'm like, doing that, so I'm like, right, I'm going to go do that. I'm going to go do that. And sometimes I think you need to sit down and plan first, which I'm really, really bad at.
I don't do audiobook share. I pay my narrator flat out.
Can you tell us how much it costs to do a 50,000 word book or whatever you're doing?
Is it 200? It depends on how much their rate is. Is it about 200?
Per finished hour. They charge
Yeah.
per finished hour, so.
About.
I think I paid about $1,500 to $2,000 per book.
Release spacing. How do you space your releases?
So that one series is every 6 months. I have another series that I've started that's like a spin-off of that one, and it's an every 6 month. And then I decided to veer a little bit and try paranormal cozy mystery, and I did those every 6 weeks for the first 5. I burnt myself completely out, stopped writing them, and then went back to the series, published 1 book after it had been 6 months, and now it will be almost a full year, but I'm going to publish the last 3 and finish that series and be done with it. And keep going with every 6 months. It seems to work for me.
So when I started, I was quite keen that I wanted to do a release every 3 months. So I did that. Then I got a contract to write my second series, and obviously then what I wrote was dependent on when they wanted me to produce the books. And the schedule there is about every 4 months, which is fine, but I had some health issues this year, so I haven't kept up with the release schedule that I had, which I think there's nothing I can do about that, but I think for readers that's quite sad, because they had come to expect a book every 3 months. And again, I think that goes back to planning. And Deann's amazing. She has books set up for next year. And I want to get to that stage so that if I do have any health issues or anything else happens in the future, I've got those books set up to come out at the times that readers are going to expect them, because I think that's a big thing. If you let your readers down, they can get quite sad quite quickly.
And maybe that should have been my advice to my former self. I don't do well with deadlines. Like, I don't sleep when I know I'm on a deadline. So I now work a calendar year ahead. So, which turned out to be the best thing ever when COVID hit, and suddenly I had a house full of people in the house all the time, being noisy in every room. I had all those books written. So when my creativity shriveled up and I just wanted to cry in a corner for, a month or two, that was the next year's books that were impacted, not the current year's books, right? So I ended up canceling a few that I had planned, but nobody ever knew about those. So right now I have, I don't know how many, 15, 16 maybe books ready for next year. Some of them are
Stop it.
some of them are already with editors. Others of them will. I work with several different editors, so some of them, one editor likes to have everything up front, and then she works at her pace, and the other editor gets them one at a time. And I give him deadlines. And then the third editor is a whole other story. But so when I started, Amazon only allowed 90-day pre-orders for indies. Actually, when I first started, they didn't allow pre-orders at all. When I got to book 3, they were starting to allow pre-orders, so 90 days became my default. Right? I couldn't go any longer than that. So I did a book every 3 months in my first series, and then I introduced a second series, and I sandwiched them in between. And then I introduced the third series and sandwiched them in between those. So I was doing a book a month, but it went Series A, Series B, Series C, Series A, Series B, Series C, throughout the year. And one whole series is novella length, so don't think I'm like Superman.
She's Superman.
One whole series is only novella length, 25K. So that was how I did my release spacing. But then I found myself like tucking extra books in here and there. And this year I introduced 3 new series. So I had book 1s and 3.
3 more series.
If you're familiar with Becca, you may not be surprised to know that I'm a #1 achiever, okay? But so when I started out, I was trying to make some money to put my kids through college, okay? So that has always been my focus, and now one is done and got his master's degree, and we paid for all of that, and he's got an apartment, and he has a job and a life. And my daughter has picked out a very expensive graduate school, and I'm like, I don't know about that. How are we doing for time? Okay, you guys each have 1 minute to talk about what's working for you in marketing right now. Okay, obviously a lot.
For me personally, again, everybody's different, everybody's business is different, everybody's books are different. For me, if Amazon said to me, I want to put your book in a daily deal, a monthly deal, Amazon Prime, whatever they say, I'm like, yes, okay, you can do that. So currently, this was a little bit terrifying, currently, my first book is perma-free, my other 5 books are all half price, only in the UK, not in the US. And I accepted it, and it terrified me because I thought I could be cutting both my hands off here right before Christmas. But my income it's not massive. You wouldn't look at my graph and go, oh, wow, what happened there? There's no big graph, but there's a nice bump, and that has remained throughout November, that all 5 of those books are half price. So my advice would be, Amazon, it's free advertising, you don't have to pay for it. I do use Amazon ads. I occasionally use Facebook ads, but I'll be honest, I don't really understand them. Amazon ads works better for me. My books are wide. Again, there's no way that you can guarantee it, but a book club ad, if your books are wide, is, again, you can see that bump, it's amazing, but you can't guarantee getting one. But apply for everything that you can apply for would be my advice, because then your name's seen, your book's seen, and that's what you want.
I'm in KU and BookBub refuses to give me anything. So
It's not always a bad
it's okay, yeah. I think the #1 thing that I would recommend for anyone is get your newsletter going. 100%. Write a novella or a short story that's a full story that is not going to spoil anything in your series, that you can bring people in. Write that first. Write that before you write your book, because you can start bringing people on your newsletter. And people are like, what do I tell them? Send them an email a month and say, hey, this is my story progress. Or, hey, this is something cool I saw online. Know who your readers are. And I mean, you know, cozy mystery readers are usually between, like, what, 40 and... Yeah, pretty much. Retirement and death. But I mean, so you're not going to send them like TikTok videos, right? I mean, maybe, but send them things that are applicable to them. But you can email them. Don't put them on your list and never email them, because they'll forget who you are. And then when you email them, they'll mark you as spam, and they'll throw you into the email dungeon, and you will never get out, and you'll have to rework everything. So, yeah, but that's what I would say, because my email newsletter, every time I send one out, I get more sales. And I send one out twice a week. So, sorry, I'm done. I'm done. That's all I had to say.
Unfortunately, we are in red time, so we are. I have 3 more cards we didn't get to. So what I'm going to say is, for the next hour, if you have questions and you want to talk to us, we will be sitting in the main room, and we are more than happy to talk to anybody, everybody. Come and find us and talk to us. If that doesn't work for you, I'm not done. We're trying to help here. There's a mystery mixer from 4:30 to 6:30 tonight. We will all be there. We will mix.
In there?
Here.
In the main room again.
What happens to the cozy mysteries?
Well, I'm getting there.
Oh.
So that's 4:30 to 6:30 tonight. We will all be there. Between 6 o'clock and 8 o'clock in Palace 3 is a specific cozy group, and Erica, who's going to wave, has organized that for us, and we are all grateful to Erica.
Palace 3 tonight.
Palace 3 tonight. Unfortunately, we all have other commitments later in the evening.
I might try to be
I'm
there.
going to try and pop in for a little bit, but I have something else so I will be there for a little bit. But having said that, I'm here all week. Like, I'm like a bad comedian. You cannot get rid of me. If you see me in the corridor and you want to ask me a question, you want to talk to me, you want to say, God, I hate you, whatever, stop me, talk to me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. If it's food time, you're going to have to come with me to get food, because I will not be diverted. But otherwise, we can talk. And I will also tell you that I'm usually at the bar behind reception after 9 o'clock, if that tickles your fancy more than lunch. If you have not got your cozy button, and most of you have not, because I'm still dragging around a massive bag of them, I have them, and I will happily give them to everyone here and everyone you know, and take one for a friend. And I'll have them at the table or at all of those other events.
I have cards, if anyone wants one.
I think that's about it. So I just want to say thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Stella,
Thank
so
you.
much. You have made